my name is Yi, and I'm a technical project manager from TESAWAP. So today I'll be sharing our experience of working in Guinea for deploying Mojalo. So for this project, the now it has a name now. It's Nemba Bay, and Nemba Bay is owned by National Bank or Central Bank of Guinea, and hub operation will be managed by GIM. And we also would like to acknowledge the support from these organizations who have been supporting our project throughout the implementation period. Gates Foundation, African Nanda Foundation, PAD, and Mojalo Foundation as well. So we, as the TESAWAP, mainly take responsibility for integration, implementation, and project management for this project. So now we are nearly end of phase 2 and in the transition to phase 2. So in phase 1, there are two use cases that we have implemented: person to person and person to merchant use cases. So there were seven DFSB that we onboarded for phase 1: three commercial bank, three mobile money operator, and one MFI. So I like to briefly share how we work for coordinating with different stakeholders in Guinea. So we have a weekly team meeting with each of the representatives from each DFSP, and also GIM and Africa Nanda to share our progress and blogger and support we need from each other. And also we have an alignment meeting with GIM and Africa Nanda to make sure we all on the same page for the project. And we implemented a project management dashboard in Airtable to make everyone accountable for each task. Since we are dealing with different stakeholders from different countries, so we that one helped us a lot to keep track of our progress in the project as well. As the go live is nearer, we have to increase the frequency of how we meet with who we meet as well. And we have multiple communication channel. We mainly use WhatsApp, email, Zoom, and any channel that is convenient for all the stakeholder in the project. So that is briefly about the project management that we have been implementing in Guinea. And so now I like to share some of the technical decision and design that we have made in Guinea project specifically. So the first one I like to share is about the account lookup to make sure that the payer is paying to the right receiving party. So for that one, we ask the payer DFSB to edit DFSB receiving DFSB ID in the payment instruction. Based on that payment instruction, we route to the destination and DFSB. So we don't implement additional central registry or anything to support that particular text. Since all the DFSB are on board with that design, we go with that one. And why we use that decision and design? So it's faster since we don't have to check all the DFSB based on the account ID, and also it's easier to maintain, and those are the reason why we use that account lookup design. And since we have to implement P2 and Flow as well, QR code are quite important in P2 use case. So for the QR generation, we use EMVCo QR standard. And for inside the EMVCo specification, there are some technical decision we have to make for Guinea project. Based on the discussion with DFS DFSB and also the technical expert, we decided to let the DFSB to generate the QR, not at the central level, to minimize the bottleneck for that QR generation. In original ENVCo specification, there are multiple mandatory fees that we can add in the ENVCo tag value length flow. But for the Guinea, we decided to only put three tags as a mandatory tag, which are mandatory for the account lookup flow. Since we will be relying on Mojaloo account lookup flow, we may not need, for example, like merchant ID, merchant name, or merchant address, or merchant category code for us to do the account lookup. So we minimize the mandatory data to add in the ENVCo QR, ENVCo QR. That's the other decision that we make to tailor the requirement from Guinea. And the other thing is that there's an interesting case for that one. So since we can add a merchant name in the QR code, some of the DFSB misunderstood what we add in the specification. They use the merchant name embedded in the QR code to display the name in the name to the end user. But the issue is some middleman can change the name or the ID in the QR code. So we recommend to use the name only from the response from the Mojaloo account lookup service. So that's the other decision that we made for the QR code standard. So why we use this decision? So the main reason is to eliminate the bottleneck issue at the central level if we generate the QR at some central place. So we decided to ask the DFSB to generate their own QR based on the specification that we share with them, and to minimize the data unnecessary data access. We only limit the mandatory data to only 3 feet, and also the account name, we rely on Mojaloo account lookup API instead of the tag inside the QR. So that's another interesting topic in Guinea. We took a lot of time to reach an agreement between inside the ecosystem how for the pricing model. In terms of technical implementation, we decided to calculate the transaction level fee at the central level. The main reason is that we don't want the DFSB to spend too much time to develop the fee calculation module. That's why we decided to calculate the fee at the central level. And so that's the one part who calculate the fee. And the second one is that in Guinea project, based on the use case, who pay the fee is different. So for P2P, the PR pay the fee. For P2M, PG or merchant pay the fee. So to support the scenario, we use amount type fee with send and receive type to support that. And the other one is for settlement. Currently, we have to generate the fee settlement report and also use that fee settlement report to set the fee between the DFSB and also HEP. So there's a requirement coming from the HEP operation team to automate this process. Currently, based on that fee summary report, we need to manually deposit or withdraw fund to the DFSB and also the HEP account, um, HEP or the scheme account to settle the fee amount between the DFSB and HEP. So we are currently brainstorming how do we make this process more efficient. So right now, this is the way we are implementing in Guinea for the fee settlement and fee settlement. So these are some of the key technical decision that we make in Guinea. Now I like to share some of the lesson learned that we have in phase one. So in phase one, in Guinea, there are more than 50 DFSB in Guinea. So for phase one, we have to select a number of DFSB to onboard. So at that time, one of the key criteria for selecting the DFSB is their technical readiness, mostly about their system. But based on our experience in phase one, it's not enough. The main reason is that most of the DFSB are working with a third-party vendor for their system development and implementation. So there are multiple layers or dependency between these different teams. So we have to also assess the readiness of the team as well. So that's the biggest lesson learned that we have in the phase one. So in phase two, DFSB selection, we incorporate this team readiness as well for DFSB selection. Team readiness means do you have the team dedicated for this project or different team member involved in the project, stuff like that. We also included that criteria in the DFSB evaluation form as well at this time. This is one of the biggest lesson learned that we have in phase one. So the so in Guinea, like I mentioned, there are a lot of DFSB who want to be onboarded as soon as possible. So what we have to do is that even though we are onboarding only 7 DFSB in phase one, we share all the resources with other DFSB who want to work ahead of time. So since we share those resources and also sharing session with additional DFSB who are not part of the phase one, most of the DFSB has already started their integration process. We share all the sandbox environment access and also resources. Based on those resources, they have been working almost alongside with the phase one DFSB. So in phase two selection, most of the DFSB who want to be a part of phase two has much more higher readiness than phase one DFSB when we started. So that's a very good thing that we would recommend to other system implementer who have the same requirement like in Guinea, and they have to select a small group of DFSB from among all the other DFSB in the ecosystem. We would recommend to share all the resources and sharing session with the whole ecosystem, not just a group of DFSB who are a part of the current phase. So that's what we like to recommend to other system implementer as well. So since I only got a few minutes, I have to narrow down some of the things that I like to share in this session. So this is the end of the the other thing is that we are very blessed to have GAME as our partner. So one of the key challenge to work in Guinea is that they are francophone country. So and we can speak French. So GAME play a very important part in conveying our message to the regulator as well as the DFSB. Of course, we have some team members who can speak French, but to be able to share the message effectively to the regulator and also the executive or different DFSB can play such a significant role in that area. So having a very supportive and get what you want to say technically as well as operationally is very important in implementing such a project in very short time as well. So that's one of the thing I would recommend to have. So you need to assess your local partner to make sure you succeed in the project implementation as well. So that's it for what I want to share. But if you have any other question, I'd like to share my thought with you. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, E, for sharing that experience in GIM. And once again, I want to congratulate the GIM team as you get ready for the official launch. We wish you all the very best. I must agree that the GIM team is very supportive, very passionate.
Yeah.
I was there a few months ago, and man, Mr. Beretta and your team, we wish you all the best, Musa. We wish you all the best as you prepare for the launch. I think there's just one question for you, and like I said, we can continue the conversation on the Slack channel from Faisal Omar. He asks, how long did the full implementation take end to end? I'm not sure whether you mentioned that. Yeah.
So officially, the timeline for phase 1 is 6 months, and I think the day we make the transaction with real payment is I think 120, but I forgot the exact date. But it took 6 months to onboard 7 DFSB generally. Yeah,
Amazing.
basically.
Amazing. Yeah, that was very fast. I think so. One other question was the QR code generation dynamic in real time or static for each participant. How is the QR code published?
Okay, so for phase 1, we are limiting the QR generation to static QR, but EMVCo QR already supported dynamic QR as well. So we also added how can we implement a dynamic QR with EMVCo and also the API flow as well. But to limit the scope of phase 1, we only limit the QR generation to static QR, but it can also support the dynamic QR as well. And
Okay.
how is the QR code published? QR code distribution is mainly take by the DFSB. We only share the QR specification. Based on the specification, DFSB generate the QR and distribute to their merchant.
Faisal, I hope it's clear. Yeah, I think we had those two questions. This question around QR code will be especially relevant to the Kenya team where I come from. We have been really struggling with implementing QR code. So I think a lot of lessons that can be learned and shared there with the community on how to effectively implement this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.